So I left off at long-term debt. Long-term debt is just a basic concept that we should be able to know. It's just as it sounds. It's debt that we have taken on, whether we've received that debt from different companies, from different banks, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. We've borrowed money from Credit Suisse, or any of these big Wall Street banks. We owe money to them, but it's in a long-term process. So anything over 2 years is typically considered long-term. But how banks like Wall Street make their money is they claim interest on this debt issued. So you see that 3,500 times millions of dollars. So that's $3,500,000 that we have in long-term debt. Now, the way you guys probably think, like, okay, how does Bank of America make their money? Well, Bank of America probably just loaned Apple that loan, and it shows you that Bank of America is probably claiming interest on that loan, probably a higher interest of like 8 to 10%. So, you take 10% of $3,500,000,000, that's 350 million just in interest. So that's how the banks make their money, but that's another case. Long-term debt is something to look at. Other long-term debt accounts. So these are just it's very easy to read. It looks complicated, but this is easy to read because current liabilities, this is always things that we are obligated to look at. And so these are obligations that, we owe money in most cases. But deferred revenue is the only one that doesn't count because technically we don't owe money, but we just don't have the money yet. So it's a little confusing, but you should be able to grasp it. I haven't explained it well enough for you guys. You guys can definitely look on Google, look at other YouTube videos. So you go down and you look at your total liabilities. I'm not going to go through the other accounts. And it looks like our liabilities increased, but that, look and dig through, okay, why did they increase by, it looks like, $5 billion or whatnot, whatever it's going to be. You go through and you can dig through because all these numbers are going to equal. So it looks like liabilities increased by 5 million due to the fact that it looks like we had a little bit more accounts payable, we had a little bit more accrued expenses, and so forth. So you can find the reason why it increased. Stockholders' equity, this is what our stock is valued at. You really don't have to pay attention to any of this. It's a lot confusing and it's a lot with valuation. Retained earnings is something I want you guys to pay attention to always. Because retained earnings shows your net income and dividends issued. So net income, think about net income. If we have revenue and we have expenses in a company, right? Revenue is what you've made, expenses is what you've, taken on. So when you do revenue minus expenses, you're going to have something called a net income or either a net loss. This goes into retained earnings. So the higher your retained earnings, pretty much the more income you can assume is being made. And so this is a good thing. An increase in retained earnings means that we're, a little bit more of a profitable company. And you add liabilities and stockholders' equity, totals of it, they should balance out to meet your total assets. So we look at 331 here, 331 here, and yes, they do balance because that's just the way accounting works. So quickly, I'm going to dive into Excel, show you guys a couple ratios that you guys can do to determine a company's financial health. This definitely won't be all the ratios you need to know, but this is just a glimpse of how a balance sheet works. So one second.